Introducing our MC for this conference, Mr. Michael Avery.
Right. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the second Afripol Sustainability Summit. I'm sure you were all wondering after the introduction with the bomb threat. I didn't know Climate Rebellion were in the building. What was going on? But bear with us because this is a hybrid virtual event where we're doing live, we're doing virtual, so we just need to ensure that everything syncs up with our virtual streaming as well. And bear with me as well. This is the first time I've had to put pants on for a conference in the last 12 months. So I'm still easing into this new world that COVID has ushered in. And I'm sure you've heard all of this week. The talking point has been about a year of a state of disaster in South Africa. My thoughts really turned to 500 days, more than a year, 500 days since we last saw the Springboks. Fortunately, it was quite a memorable occasion in Tokyo. But how the world has changed in that last 500 days, with COVID-19 really upending everything that we once knew as normal in this world. And it's wonderful to be back doing in-person live events. But I just have to remind you that we are still in the middle of a pandemic, so please, as far as possible, continue to practice those non-pharmaceutical interventions, the MPIs. I'm sure we've heard it, and we're all sick to death of it by now, but we really have to ensure that we don't see a repeat of what happened in December going into Easter. Now, the one thing I like about sustainability conferences is that they prove that we like to recycle. Because our recycling MCs like myself, I had the great pleasure of hosting the first event last year, and I see so many of you from that event as well have rejoined us. And it's quite clearly a very important time now to be talking about sustainability, because we've got these three global crises that are converging at the moment. The first one is a public health crisis, ushered in by COVID-19. And I think in January last year, The Economist had forecasts and out into the next decade, and COVID didn't feature anywhere there. The second one is the financial crisis, the economic crisis that is really a result of global responses to the public health crisis and how economies are going to emerge. We know central banks around the world are doing their bit for sustainability and keeping markets green by keeping interest rates low. Thank you very much. My portfolio is looking really good, certainly in dollar terms on the JSE after not going anywhere over the last 5 years. We've had a pretty good year to date. And then thirdly, these two crises are taking place within a broader framework of a third global crisis, and that is climate change. And I think these three issues are going to be the defining issues over the course of the next 10 years. It's going to impact business, it's going to impact you personally, it's going to impact the political economy, and it's going to impact industries like the plastics industry. And I think there's this heightened awareness and increased pressure on businesses to ask questions about how they're responding to this. And I think increasingly what we're seeing is more of a bright green conversation. And when I sat down with Afripol, when they invited me to come and facilitate this event again, I said, what I really like about the way industry is responding to the challenges now is that it's engaging on a bright green level. And I often look at the conversation around sustainability from my position behind the mic or in front of the camera, and you get the activists, and there's a very dystopian, dark green view of the world. You get a light green or greenwashing view, which is PR and spin and not really engaging with the issues. And then you get what I like to refer to as a bright green view. A view that understands that in a world with plastics, the practical reality is that there is plastic in your N95 surgical mask. There is plastic in this phone that I'm holding. There is plastic in everything that we use. It's one of the most widely used packaging materials in the world, lightweight, and has a lot of positive benefits. And sustainability, when we talk about plastics, has been hijacked, I think, to a large degree by a kind of dark green or a light green view. And it's great to see a bright green view emerging that really says, right, we acknowledge the problem, now how do we move forward from here? What are the sustainable solutions to ensure that we can continue to have an industry that provides social good, that creates employment, and that is a big contributor to the South African fiscus. And I think in this context, it's great to see Afripol with its Let's Plastic Responsibly campaign coming out and playing a very active role in the public square. It's a very brave thing to do, because very often what corporates have tended to do is rather avoid and dodge. But I think in today's world, that is nigh on impossible. Just a few housekeeping rules before I hand over to Nico van Niekerk, the CEO of Safripol, who's going to do the formal introduction. This is a virtual event. By now, I'm sure you are familiar with the app Brella. Go onto the app, start networking, use the networking function. If you hear, great, you can network in person, but if you are streaming this, then get onto Brella, and it really offers you that flexibility. We're going to be hosting polls as well. If you log onto the app, go down. I think it's in the base of the app on the right-hand side. You're going to see a Q&A section, and we're going to put a poll up there and interact with the poll. We want to get a sense and a gauge of what the room feels about sustainability and where we are right now on this journey to ensure that industries are all part of the net carbon zero goal, which I think the President so neatly articulated in his State of the Nation address, and which is part of this global commons around the Sustainable Development Goals. I'd just like to end off, I think, with, it's a bit of a moonshot, kind of bold statement. And it's stealing a little bit from John F. Kennedy's moonshot idea, and I think we're all very familiar with the way he rallied the American people around this grand ambition to land someone on the moon, and it had never been done before. And I think if we look to solutions, and really this conference is about solutions, we articulated the problems last year, it's important to invoke that spirit. And I'd just like to read the last lines of that very memorable, iconic speech. It says, "We choose to fight climate change in this decade, not because it's easy, but because it's hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills, because that challenge is one that we are willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one which we intend to win." And I think when it comes to the collective realization of what we can achieve and taking that approach to tackling the triple challenges of our time, then I'm pretty sure that we are going to be able to come out on the other side stronger, more resilient, and with an industry that will truly be sustainable and here for generations to come. So with that, I'd like to welcome Nico van Niekerk, the CEO of Safripol, to deliver the opening address, and a warm round of applause. Thank you, everyone, for Nico.
Please welcome Safripol CEO, Mr. Nico van Niekerk.
So it is my privilege to welcome our hosts, valued speakers, as well as guests alike, and both those in the room and those watching from afar. You know, I have been told that today we are actually having more than 140 people in this conference, around about 60 right here in the room, and around about 80 virtual. And I think that is just a stunning achievement, and again, thanks for coming. Since we have had our previous conference, we experienced the arrival of COVID. And with all of that, the war against plastics has become quieter as the focus went on to essential PPE, health, and the safe food provided in the country. However, with all of that said, it has become much more important to plastic responsibly than what we have had before. And this is also the ideal opportunity for us as companies to put in place sustainability strategies. And more than just sustainability strategies, it's key that we actually action that and get actions to plastic responsibly. And without sustainability strategies, our companies, Safripol as well as yours, will not be successful and sustainable as we go into the future. Us in Safripol have put sustainability at the core of our business. We walk the talk. We are involved in multiple sustainability-related projects. We are working with recycling initiatives, working together with like-minded strategic partners to solve the issue relative to let's plastic responsibly. We are changing the way that we think. We are changing the way that we work, and we are changing the way that we act. And we have seen that that is actually bringing benefits to us as a company, but also to us as individuals. I invite you all over the next 2 days to explore the trends, the technologies, and the solutions that will be tabled. I invite you to actively participate. If you go back and you take a look at COVID, and one of the things that COVID have taught us is that plastics and polymers will not go anywhere. It is a sustainable product. Our job is to make sure that we use plastics in a responsible manner. And with that, we will take this industry and go forward. So, with all of that, let's do our war cry. Let's plastic responsibly. Please enjoy the next 2 days, and thanks a lot for coming. Appreciate it.